Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with here today with an article from the Free Press. I almost said the pre-fress. That was not good. I'm sounding like Joe Biden. Anyway, this article is dated Friday, June 28th, and I'm actually recording this on that day. This is the day after the debate, and I put scare quotes around that because was it really a debate? It was. I think we saw, a murder committed on live television last night, and yeah, it wasn't good for Joe Biden. So I thought I'd make a video about, what everybody's kind of saying at this point. This article is from Barry Weiss, who I believe is actually the head honcho at the Free Press. So the article, man, I am really pulling a Joe Biden on this one already. We're barely like 30 seconds in. So it says they knew Biden is no longer fit to be president. Last night's debate exposed the lies we've been told. Yeah, and if you're standing for Joe Biden, if you're saying they're saying Joe Biden he's okay, everything's fine. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what you watched yesterday, but this also shows that the debate at least shows that our media has been, well, they've just been completely lying to you about this man's condition. Because remember, they've all been out there saying, oh, he's totally fine behind closed doors. The man can, read a physics journal, backwards and forwards. Like there's nothing wrong with him. Yet they keep sending out, basically an invalid. But okay, so let's get into it. It says, rarely are so many lies dispelled in a single moment. Rarely are so many people exposed as liars and sycophants. Last night's debate was a watershed on both counts. The debate was not just a catastrophe for President Biden, and boy, was it ever. But it was more than that. It was a catastrophe for an entire class of experts, journalists, and pundits who have, since 2020, insisted that Biden was sharp as a tack, on top of his game, basically doing handstands while peppering his staff with tough questions about care for migrant children and aid to Ukraine. Anyone who committed the sin of using their own eyes on the 46th president was accused, variously, of being Trumpers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. MAGA cult members, it's not a cult, who don't want American democracy to survive, ageist, or just dummies, easily duped by disinformation, misinformation, fake news, and most recently, cheap fakes. This is cast your mind back to February, when Robert Hur, the special counsel appointed by the Department of Justice to look into Biden's handling of classified documents, came out with his report that included details about Biden's health, which he explained why he would not prosecute the president. And yeah, it's going to say that basically he's a bumbling idiot and he's senile and he's too stupid to be able to do it. So as we also have considered that at trial, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, Hur wrote. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires mental state of willfulness. So they're saying he's senile. Okay. It says, can anyone doubt that characterization after watching Biden's debate performance? Yet Eric Holder, that, by the way, if you don't know who Eric Holder is, he was the attorney general for some guy named Barack Obama. Maybe you've heard of him. Says, yet Eric Holder told us that Hur's remarks were gratuitous. The former attorney general tweeted, had this report been subject to a normal DOJ review, these remarks would undoubtedly have been excised. Dan Pfeiffer, a former Obama advisor, said Hur's report was a partisan hit job. Vice President Kamala Harris argued the way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated, gratuitous. And the report does not live in reality, said White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, stressing that the president was sharp and on top of things. And I think they're saying this partisan stuff mainly because Hur, I think, is a registered Republican. So that's why they were saying all this stuff. But obviously, given what you saw last night, this is all just total lies. But as Barry Weiss says, shall I go on? Okay, so I mean, yeah, you get the point about that. Biden is not with us, as you saw. So here was the New York Times last week in an extensive piece headlined, How Misleading Videos Are Trailing Biden as He Battles Age Doubts. The story went on to attempt to convince readers that there is the distorted online version of Biden, which is merely a product of often misleading videos that play into and reinforce voters' long-standing concerns about his age and abilities. And Barry Weiss, just an FYI, who wrote this article, used to work for the New York Times. Go look up why she left, and you'll see why the New York Times, if you don't think so already, is essentially a cesspool of leftist retardation. But anyway, it says, with forensic detail, 3 times reporters compared these videos from various angles. Some of the videos of Mr. Biden circulating during this year's campaign are clearly manipulated to make him look old and confused, they wrote. pulling clips that were meant to debunk the idea that he was either. Watch them, see for yourself. And I think we all know at this point that, no, those videos were not manipulated even in the least, but, they got their marching orders to say that, so they're going to say that. It says, when the Wall Street Journal earlier this month came out with a story for which reporters had interviewed 45 people, soberly laying out concerns about Biden's age, it was trashed as an egregious hit job. Some people called for it to be retracted. God forbid you tell the truth. Those congressional Republicans, foreign leaders, and nonpartisan national security experts have made it clear in their own words that President Biden is a savvy and effective leader who has a deep record of legislative accomplishment. White House spokesman Andrew Bates told the Wall Street Journal, none of that is actually true, but okay. Now, in 2024, House Republicans are making false claims as a political tactic that flatly contradict previous statements made by themselves and their colleagues. All right, so he is told there to go out and spin it in the worst possible way for President Biden. And yeah, if you follow Andrew Bates, like the dude's another guy that's he's like Corinne Jean-Pierre, where it's just assume what he's saying is a total lie, and things will start to make sense. Is that even in the midst of last night's dumpster fire, some stalwarts, like the Japanese soldiers who hadn't realized they'd already lost the war, tried to spin it. Biden has a cold, a source close to the president told Axios during the debate. Right, that was the trouble, a lack of Tylenol. Yeah, it was someone, I think, who works for MSNBC, which, again, big freaking surprise there. And yeah, that was going around during the debate. I remember seeing that because I was watching the debate. I switched back and forth I was watching Tim Pool's stuff, but I started watching the Daily Wire. And then when the actual debate started, the Daily Wire, their feed just showed the debate without them commenting. So I switched to Tim Pool's show. And then after the debate was over and went back to just strictly commentary, I switched back to the Daily Wire. But they were bringing that up as well about the whole Biden has a cold on Tim Pool's show. They were like, yeah, that's a bunch of BS. It says on MSNBC, Joanne Reed suggested that the issue was that he was on the right-hand side of the screen. Yes, that was definitely the problem. Yes, clearly. I mean, if he was on the left-hand side of the screen, he would have just been like doing cartwheels and backflips and, stuff that just we don't see. Yeah, so clearly it was the side of the screen he was on, you absolute spoon. Because I never understood these reactions. For me, it always seemed easy enough to say Biden's 81, he's fading. Most 81-year-olds do so. And there's nothing wrong with that, but, there's something wrong, though, with it when the 81-year-old has his finger on the nuclear codes, so a little different. But it seemed fair to still argue that a faded Biden is better than an all-there Trump. No. As Bill Maher has put it, I'd vote for Biden's head in a jar of blue liquid versus Trump. Or as Sam Harris has said, Hunter Biden could literally have had the corpses of children in his basement and would not have cared. Because both these guys have stage 4 TDS, so that's why they're saying what they're saying. And it's just not a very good argument. Says you may disagree with the conclusion, but it's a coherent argument. No, not really. It's not an argument that relies on the denial of reality. This telling people they didn't see what they saw is not the way to respond to this. That was Democratic operative Ben Rhodes' reaction last night to the debate. And he's another just stupid human being. Says the trouble is that's precisely what the strategy has been for many, many months. There were notable exceptions. Ezra Klein published a huge piece in the New York Times in February, making the case that Biden should step down for the good of the country. James Carville's been telling the truth, too. It says, when Representative Dean Phillips entered the Democratic presidential primary last year, his entire campaign was based on the observation that Biden was too old for the job. I reached Phillips via text and asked him if he wanted to comment in light of the debate on how the Democratic establishment had treated him, given that he had the guts to say the quiet part out loud. As Gandhi said, to speak only when it improves upon the silence, he texted back. So he had nothing good to say. It's your parents telling you if you got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. But last night, many of the very people who say they are shocked, that's where you can enter the Fry meme from Futurama. I'm shocked. Well, not really that shocked, that meme. So it says, by Biden showing we're exactly the people who are covering for him. Yes, that's correct. And we're going on to the Krasensteins, I see here. If you don't know who they are, go check their stupidity on Twitter/X. They are just sycophants for everything the left does. And they're, again, kind of serial liars, if you will. So here was Ed Krasenstein reacting to a video of Joe Biden tripping up the stairs in October of 2023. It says, once again, people are pretending to be frightened over the fact that Joe Biden stumbled going up the stairs at age 80. I literally stumble going up the stairs at least twice a week. Okay, so you have something wrong with you. You may want to talk to a doctor about that. It sounds like a tremor, and that's bad, so go talk to a doctor. I even fell down my spiral staircase a couple weeks ago. Yeah, you have something wrong with you, dude. Okay, like I can understand an old guy walking up the stairs and, having an oopsie or something like that. But you at 41, as it says in this next sentence, and you're falling up and down the stairs constantly, yeah, there's something wrong with you, pal. It says, I'm 41 years old, work out daily, and actually use the stair stepper at the gym 5 days a week. Should I be concerned? Yes, you should absolutely be concerned because there's something wrong with you. It says, here was Krasenstein last night. Joe Biden has trouble speaking. Oops, he's turning. It says, here was MSNBC's Rachel Maddow, who is basically Lenny Riefenstahl with black hair. There's an early February saying Biden is fit for the presidency because he can ride a bike. Yes, that's the thing that makes you fit for the presidency, Rachel. Thanks. So is Russia still a problem? Can you tell us that? It says, here was Maddow last night, admitting Biden had a weak voice and halting delivery. Says, here was The View co-host Ana Navarro Cardenas in September of last year. She said, Joe Biden is old, but he ain't dying anytime soon. I don't know about that. I don't know if you guys saw him this weekend. He was at the G20. One moment I turned on the TV, he was in India, and then I turned on the TV, he was in Vietnam. Then I turned on the TV, he was giving a press conference, and then at the end of being up for like 24 hours, working in a completely different part of the world, he said, you know what? I got to go to bed, while Republicans were all pouncing on the fact that the man who had been up for 38 hours I had to go to bed just watching him on TV. So because the guy can travel around, basically the desiccated corpse of Joe Biden can travel around the world weekend at Bernie style, that just means like he's okay. Like, do you hear yourself? That's not an argument. It says, here was Navarro Cardenas' reaction to Biden's post-debate speech where he appeared to be slightly more coherent. And she said, where the hell was this Joe Biden? He was at the post-debate speech. Yeah, that that didn't go too well either. It says, those around the president, Joe Biden certainly, but all those savvy staffers, should have encouraged Biden to bow gracefully after his first term, because what happened last night was heartbreaking. It debased Biden as a man. It was also alarming. Why did I say charming? It was also alarming. The person we saw on stage is our commander-in-chief. He holds the nuclear football, as I was saying. It wasn't just Americans who watched his performance last night. Yeah, and I saw people commenting on it that, like, imagine the world leaders that are watching this and just going, wait, this is what we're afraid of? This is going to be a problem. The next 6 months or so are going to be, they're going to be fun, aren't they? Because the Democrats talk a lot about saving democracy, which I think I've already elucidated in other videos that that's just not true. But if you truly believe democracy is on the line in a race against Trump, the solution is as straightforward as it was before the debate clock started last night on CNN. Replace Biden. The Democratic convention doesn't begin until August 19th. Biden still has time to pull an LBJ. As for the rest of us, tonight was like a flash going off, so much and so many revealed. Excellent article. I mean, it kind of hits on like all the spots that like basically everybody out there is saying, but I don't think they can replace Biden. I don't know the legality behind it. I'm not a lawyer, certainly not like a constitutional lawyer or a lawyer that would have anything to do with this. But I've heard that they can't actually do that without it being like a major issue. So if anybody knows about that, please let me know what the real deal is, if they can do that or not, because I think everybody's looking at Gavin Newsom as the replacement, and God help us all if that happens. I mean, you might as well be asking the Antichrist to take over the presidency, and I'd rather have Joe Biden than Gavin Newsom. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, let me know what you think about this article in the comments below, or let me know what you also thought about the debate. Who were you rooting for in it? What do you think won? And I think, which side I'm on here, and it certainly was not Joe Biden's. But let me know. Share your comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.